Well, I've been a member here almost 20 years, and then prior to that, my parents were members, so I played here since about 1984. So not as long as Tom Olson. I think it was more than 50 years, but so played here since 1984, and it's really a spectacular piece of ground. And the golf course it's an excellent golf course. It's a lot of fun to compete on. There's 5 par 3s, there's a lot of terrain changes. Maxwell greens add a lot to the competition, puts a premium on ball striking, but also puts a premium on putting as well. So it's a true championship test, I would say. Well, so the course was originally designed in the 20s, and then in 1951, Perry Maxwell and his son were hired to renovate the golf course, and they renovated a number of green complexes, nearly all of them, we believe, and also changed a few holes and made them slightly different. For example, the 5th hole used to be a par 4, and they shortened it into a par 3 with the view that the hill was too steep for people to walk. This was before golf carts were readily used. And then Maxwell also adjusted a few other areas. Number 12, he moved the green on 12, he moved the green on number 10, and basically rebuilt all the green complexes. And then that was 1951, so over the following 60 years, various greens committees and superintendents made slight tweaks to the golf course and extended tees, moved greens here and there, flattened a couple greens, and kind of had disturbed the Maxwell gem to some extent. And so in 2006, Keith Foster is a golf course architect with a specialty in renovating old Masters type golf courses, Perry Maxwell, Alister McKenzie golf courses, and Tillinghast. And we hired Keith Foster to come in, and he put together a master plan for the entire golf course. And it touched everything. Tees, fairways, bunkers, greens, green surrounds. And the membership approved the work, and so in 2007 we renovated the entire golf course and added about 400 yards, restored all greens to, by that time there were 11 Maxwell greens remaining. So we duplicated those 11 greens, and then the other 7 greens Keith restored based on some pictures in some cases, and then other cases he had to work off of other Maxwell examples to rebuild Maxwell duplicates. The club's got a long history of some very good players. There were a number of guys, John Reddick in the early part of the 20th century was a fine player and a multi-time state champion. I believe he was a member here. And then Bob Frazier was a lawyer in town at Frazier Stryker, and he'd won a number of club championships and a few state tournaments, 2 or 3, the state amateur. And Sam Reynolds is probably the most well-known because he was a U.S. senator and quite an accomplished amateur player, both at the club and on the state and national level. And I guess Tom Olson would be another one who's a member who won the state tournament and a couple state match plays and a number of club tournaments. And the most interesting one actually is Ben Cowdery, where a lot of the older members that I played with when I was younger, the great players would tell stories about Ben Cowdery and his ball striking. They were almost like Paul Bunyan-esque, Mo Norman-like stories where people would say that he could go a month without missing a green and just a spectacular ball striker. and he'd won a number of club championships, but he didn't compete much on the state level. He was involved in the newspaper, and apparently his father-in-law looked down upon misspent time playing golf and doing that. So Ben did not compete on the state level, but apparently he was, for a long period of time, one of the best players in the region. Well, our club tournament is a match play, so it's people that sign up, the low 8 or 16 get put in brackets, and you schedule your matches and you play your matches. So it's a lot of fun. You get to meet a lot of different people over the years, and you work with other people's schedules to come up with a convenient time for everybody to play your match. And then the finals are on Saturday, Labor Day weekend. It's a 36-hole final. So it's a great event, and we let college kids play in it that otherwise are qualified to play and compete, which I think is important. There's been movements over the years from time to time not to let them play, but I think it's actually quite important to grow the game and let these kids play. And so the first time I played, I guess I played in high school, and then I played again in college, and it was a lot of fun, and you did learn to compete. And I played a lot of golf with Tom Olson when I was younger, and learned a lot from Tom by watching him and just by him telling stories and maybe the occasional tip, and so that was always fun. And we've had a number of good players that might not have won multiple club championships, but actually there's quite a few good players. I think we have 4 or 5 plus handicaps today at the club. So it's a fun championship, and everybody takes it real seriously, and it's a lot of fun. So this will be I believe it'll be my 3rd playing out here. So I would have played in the 90s when Dave Falsgraf won. I was 18 or 19 years old at the time, and kind of finished in the middle of the pack, and it was fun to compete. The greens got real fast, and I think Dave shot 7 over par on a 6,300-yard course at the time. And then we played it again here in 2005, I believe. 2005, and that was at a time in my life when I was actually playing a lot of golf. I was runner-up in 2003 and 2004, and lost in a 7-hole playoff in 2004. So I was very focused on this championship, and I was I guess I got myself in contention in the back 9 and just didn't get it done. But we had quite a field, and I think there was a playoff between Kath Malone, who I was playing with in the final round, and Tom Gross, who was in the group behind me, and Kath had a great back 9 and got himself into a playoff and ended up winning. But the greens were fast, they were reasonably firm, and this was on the Gold Golf Course before we'd renovated it, so it was probably a 6,400-yard golf course, and I believe 7 over may have won that year as well. And you know, Kath had a great tournament, and he won the championship. But that was another one, I guess, that slipped away, and Tom Kelly, another member here, finished a couple strokes back as well, and he was right there. So I guess in 2003 I was runner-up to AJ Elgert, and I may have been 3 or 4 strokes back and had a very good final round to finish second. So I never felt like I was in contention or had a real good shot at winning. So, but I had a good tournament and a good finish. 2004 it was at Fremont Golf Club, and I think I shot 31 on the back side, and AJ was in the group behind me, and I think he birdied one of the last 3 holes to tie, and then we went into a playoff. And so that one I really had a good chance to win, and I could tell you all the shots that slipped away, but I certainly had, I guess I had 3 putts to win in the playoff, and then hung on for 7 holes, and he drove the par 4 7th at Fremont, and he's a great player, and that was kind of the prime of his days as a college kid. But so what would it mean to win here? I mean, I think 06 winning the match play, and I've won in the mid-am and a few 4 balls that I don't feel pressure from the standpoint of I need to win this to finish out my career, or to, you know, so that's not something, like you said. I'd say, Ben, I do feel like there's no monkey on my back to win, but it'd mean a lot to win at Omaha Country Club, just because I think this is such a special place, and I turned 45 this year, so it's I won't have many opportunities to compete with the college kids any longer, so this would be fun. I think a lot will be dictated by the firmness of the putting surfaces, and the forecast is a little bit spotty as far as water goes, so it might be a challenge to get firm greens, and if they're just fast, then there will be a premium on driving the golf ball and putting. If they're firm and fast, there'll be an additional premium on hitting very crisp iron shots. So I think that putting and distance control with your irons are really important here. Driving the ball in the fairway is not as important in the month of July, because the rough gets a little bit thin in places, and it won't be too much of a challenge. But I'd say it largely comes down to hitting good iron shots and putting. Well, I think the Senior Open was really good for golf in Nebraska and in Omaha, and I think the membership at Omaha Country Club really got excited and got behind it, and since then we're hosting this championship, and then we've also hosted 2 or 3 U.S. Open local qualifiers out here, and the membership's very supportive of that, and enjoys having that, and having these kids and others come out and see the golf course and experience the golf course. So that's a great mindset of this club, and this is the 16th time you said that we're hosting the Nebraska Amateur, so that tells you a lot about the culture of the club. So I think the Senior Open really helped bring the level of the golf course and expose the golf course to the entire community, and maybe a broader community behind that. So that was neat, and the members are proud of it, and had a lot of fun with it. Well, I would say Senior Open was probably a highlight here, and then I've had a lot of different matches in the club championship. I qualified for the U.S. Amateur. We had qualified out here in 2003, and that was a real highlight for me is winning that qualifier and playing in the U.S. Amateur, and it was at Oakmont that year, so I got really, some would say, unlucky, because it was way too hard for me, and long and difficult, but I was quite fortunate because it was such a great experience. I'd probably put that towards the top. 2 of the most common things you hear, one would be the terrain and how hilly it is. We're kind of in the Missouri River Bluffs up here in north central Omaha, and so that's a common comment. And then I would say the other one, post 2007 renovation, is how big the property is, because we did remove a lot of trees and open up the property. And as a result of that, I think a lot of people comment on how much room there is and how big and beautiful this piece of ground is.